Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Paso Robles City Council for Tuesday, March the 7th. And before we get started, I'd like to read the following. City has returned to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for a deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely, residents can live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube and call 805-865-7276 to provide public comment via phone. Phone line will remain open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity to comment on each item heard by the council. Written public comments can be submitted via email to cityclerk@prcity.com prior to 12 noon on the day of the council meeting to be posted as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. City council meetings will be live streamed during the meeting, also available to play later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube. Any writing or document pertaining to an open session item on this agenda, which is distributed to a majority of the City Council after the posting of this agenda, will be available for public inspection at the time the subject writing or document is distributed. The writing or document will be available for public review in the City Clerk's office at 1000 Spring Street, Paso Robles, California, during normal business hours and may be posted on the city's website at www.prcity.com/meetings. Americans with Disabilities Act, any individual who because of a disability needs special assistance to attend or participate in this meeting may request assistance by contacting the City Clerk's office at 805-237-3960. Whenever possible, requests should be made 4 working days in advance of the meeting. Mayor Steve Martin speaking, and because I am attending virtually tonight, I would like to have Mayor Pro Tem John Hammond take over the running of the meeting. And at this time, I will turn it over to him. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We'll go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Gregory.
Please follow me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And do we have an invocation tonight?
Yes, we do.
Well, let's join in prayer. God, we thank you for this city that you've given to us. And we ask that you would give us wisdom, that we may make the right decisions to benefit everyone in the city. We invite your presence here in this chamber. Thank you for every person that's here. We honor you tonight. We ask that you continue to bless our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Elijah. We'll begin with the roll call. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Martin.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
Here.
Chris Bausch.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Strong.
Here. Good. Staff introductions, starting with Warren Frace.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Mary Sponholz, Deputy City Clerk.
Melissa Boyer, City Clerk, joined by Karen Jackson, IT Technician, and Shauna Howenstein, Civic Engagement Coordinator.
Christopher.
Christopher Luckel, Utilities Director. David Lucaro, Public Works Ops Manager.
Angelica Fortin, Community Services Director. Frida Berman, Public Works Director.
Brian Cornell, Administrative Services Director. Chris Guad, Assistant City Manager.
John.
Terry Bennett, Mayor Manager. David Ortiz, David Atkins,
Ty Lewis, City Manager.
Elizabeth Hull, City Attorney.
Very good. Thank you. We'll begin with item F, presentations. First one on that list is going to be on-street parking implementation. Is that Ty, you going to handle that, or?
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. We're going to have Donna King come up and give everybody an update on what's happening since March 1st.
Thank you.
All right, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Martin, thank you so much for allowing me to present tonight. It's been quite a couple weeks to get all of this implemented. So tonight I'm just going to quickly go over what has occurred in the last 7 days. So first, we updated all of our signs, or our sign riders. The paid parking signs stay the same. We have the sign riders that now have the 3 options for payment: pay at the meter, pay by the app, or pay by text. We've also designed the new employee permit signs. Those we will hold off on implementing for cost savings until we have the program approved long-term, but that is the new design. And the Flowbird app, we implemented this March 1st. Since then, we've had 907 parking sessions initiated with the app, and 766 of those sessions were free, less than 2-hour parking sessions. And then we now have a video. Is there a way to play it? This is a video that was presented by our vendor Flowbird with a how-to on how to use the app. That app was completed today, or I'm sorry, the video was completed today. So that'll be published tomorrow. We'll publish it on our website and send it out so everyone can have access to it. There we go. Next was the pay by text. Since March 1st, we had 856 parking sessions started on the text messaging option. 320 of those were less than 2 hours of free parking. And then this, again, is another video that our vendor created for us with the how-to on the pay by text. And then we have our pay at the pay station. The programming did not change a lot with this option. We always see that the pay stations are the most used with 6,877 parking sessions since March 1st, with just under 6,200 that were less than 2 hours, 90% of the sessions. And then this is the statistics. They're the same statistics I just listed. Just so you can see the percentages of free and then the usage of the app and pay by text. I do expect that the app and pay by text percentages will increase. With Way to Park, we had close to about 38% usage by the end. And then the gross paid parking revenue in the last week was just over $4,400. And our enforcement parking ambassadors have been out writing warnings this week and providing education. They've been helping people download the app and learn how to use the text messaging feature and the kiosks. But they did also write warnings for anyone that was out of compliance. We're also accepting senior permit applications that started March 1st. As of the end of business yesterday, we had accepted 392. And that is our update for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Donna. Mayor Martin, any questions for Donna?
No, thank you very much.
Any questions from the colleagues on the dais? Chris, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. A couple questions. Some of the literature that we had for texting had Park Paso as the prompt to text to the number. The video says start. Is it one or the other, or will both work?
It's just Park Paso. The video, we try to have it as customized to our agency as possible, but they are an international company, so that was just an example.
All right. So, but it's still Park Paso.
Correct.
Good. And then you said no signing changes to some of the signs. Any thought given to increasing those to address the concern that people just didn't see the signs, they were too far apart?
We haven't considered that at the moment because of the 90-day short term. The sign writers that we installed are actually temporary sign writers due to the cost of putting in permanent signage with only a 90-day.
So I can bring that back just to increase the number. I'll do that at a later time.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay. This was a presentation. Anybody in the audience, though, having questions for Donna? And do we have anybody online?
No, we don't.
Yeah, if you want to come on over, sir.
I just had a couple of questions. On the temporary signs, you have the portion where it says about parking, registering even for if it's for the 2 hours. It's kind of small. Is that going to be bigger on the permanent signs? And then the other question was on the 25-cent transaction fee for text or app use. Is that noted anywhere before the people hit the pay button?
Yes.
We'll get the question
Sir,
answered.
could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, John Almaguer.
Thank you.
Paso Robles. Thank you.
So the sign writers, yes, those were temporary. So I would, there's only so much we can fit in that space, but I would like to see it larger as well. So we'll see what we can do on the permanent signs. For the 25-cent transaction fee, yes, it does show up on the pay by text or the app. So if you did one additional hour after the 2 hours, it will show $2.25.
Very good. Thank you, Don. Moving on, then we have presentation by Wine Country Alliance, Joel Peterson.
Let's go up there. Thank you. Good evening, Council. Mayor Martin, glad you're online. We missed you and thinking of you. Staff and members of the public, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight about the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance and our partnership with the City of Paso Robles. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your service. I know it's tough to work in both elected and appointed positions, so appreciate you guys giving what you can back to our amazing city. This is the beginning of my 5th year of starting my 5th year of being the executive director of the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. It's an honor to work in this position and to represent the city's wineries and wine-supported businesses here in Paso Robles. I want to thank you first and foremost for allowing me to come last year and signing a two-year agreement with the City of Paso Robles. It was always a tough thing to come every year and kind of talk about what we do. So I think going to a 2-year contract really helps us. And really helps us plan for our planning, our programming, and kind of plan as we promote Paso Robles wine region. So this night's evening is going to be just a quick 10-minute presentation. I promised to Mr. Hewitt I would keep it below 10 minutes before you got into the really important matters of the city here. So the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance is led by a 9-member board. As you can see, we have some great community leaders up there, mainly winery owners, restaurateurs, hoteliers, and people who really give back and support the Paso Robles wine country. People who've been here for a long, long time, including Noreen Martin, especially Chris Cherry, who started Via Creek Restaurant over 20 years ago. We are a small but mighty team. We've got 7 of us, 5 of us full-time, 2 people are part-time. Communications director, membership manager, marketing manager, a bookkeeper, a marketing coordinator, and a government affairs. We have some key partners we work with here in the city. Right in the center, you see City of Paso Robles. We've really enjoyed our relationship over the last year with new city manager Ty Lewis, assistant city manager Chris Hewitt, and all the staff we work with, Parks and Rec, City of Police, Fire, all those. Appreciate that. And also, we work with Travel Paso quite closely, especially in our digital programming. As we go out to promote Paso Robles as a wine region, we actually work with them and where we buy ads, what the messaging looks like, and actually buy ads together so we can actually save money. On the right-hand side, you'll see Business Locale. We work with Chuck Davison and his team quite often as they do media missions. We were lucky enough to do a media mission last week in Dallas, where we talked about the direct fly market from Paso Robles to Dallas and some synergies there. Then obviously our partners with Paso Robles Main Street Association and the Paso Robles Chamber of Commerce. Our Magnum partners, these are not maybe so relevant here, but we are a membership organization. These are the people who give us resources to really create our message loud and clear across the waves. We're a membership organization. We've got 452 members right now. We are at an all-time high, 184 wineries, 30 growers who are specific growers. A lot of our wineries are also growers as well. 130 associates, and then 108 hospitality partners. Do a quick recap of what last year looked like for us. It was a big year in terms of more media attention. Most of the things we spend are consumer-driven, trying to get guests here to Paso Robles to enjoy our wine country. We also dabble in wine and media lifestyle trade, and also wine and spirits trade. It's a lot of big hits last year that came in terms of awards and scores. A lot of what we do is create content for the city of Paso Robles and certainly the wineries that we work with. So we do that through creation of blogs and our social media and our podcast. Our blogs, we did over 50 blogs last year. We reached over 200,000 on Facebook, 100,000 page views, and then our email list consists of 21,000. Our Instagram list is over 23,000. Facebook's over 77,000. So we continue to grow these year over year. Our podcast is something we're really proud of. Right at the beginning of the podcast, we had started to record those. We just hit 70 episodes. It is consistently a top 10 podcast in America, which is nice. And we have over 150,000 downloads. We record those, and they go out every 2 weeks. I just came from a recording right now. So we have a new one coming about WineFest. Our website continues to draw strong numbers year over year. Last year, we had a second year in a row, we had over 1 million sessions on our website, which is pretty amazing. 408,000 of those were organic, which means we didn't even pay for those. Those are people looking for Paso wine online, and they found us. Over 600,000 users, and then over 2 million page views, which is same thing. Second year in a row, we have over 2 million page views for PasoWine.com. If you want to quickly draw your attention to the top three sites for our winery profiles, our events, and our classifieds. And one of the things we work with you guys on is education and classifieds. So people looking for jobs, looking to sell grapes, looking to sell equipment, they can always go to PasoWine.com, click the classifieds ad, and you can see things on there. If you look at our advertising, I believe Ms. Jacob from Travel Paso spoke at the last meeting, and we did a great partnership with them last year where we did quite a bit of digital and print ads with Wine Enthusiast. All of our advertising creates quite a bit of impressions, over 50 million impressions last year, and did a great partnership with VinePair and Wine Enthusiast last year, which we're really proud of. We also partnered with a company called Wine Folly, and Wine Folly is actually the nation's leading wine education platform online now, and they have over 400,000 reach on Instagram and 20 million yearly page views. So people ask us, why would you promote another website besides yourselves? Well, we have a target maybe this big, and there's this big. So when people type in Paso Robles, they do a region guide. We were the third region they partnered with. The first one they partnered with was Walla Walla, Washington. The second one was Napa. The third one was Paso Robles. So pretty impressive, and they're a lot of fun to work with. They do great videos and do great content. And then lastly, I mentioned this with Travel Paso. We did a really cool event with Wine Enthusiasts where we brought all 50 of the employees of Wine Enthusiasts here for 3 days in August, and we took them all over downtown and out and about Paso Robles, talking about what makes our region so unique. Public relations, on top of that, we did 3 press trips. We did 5 sample pitches. We got over 40 unique media visits back to basically the stuff that we did. We did media dinners in Dallas and Scottsdale. And then we had individual PR visits when writers reach out to us, say they want to write an article about Paso Robles. We host them here in Paso Robles. We also do what are called critical tastings. So if a wine publication says we want to review all the wines of Paso Robles, they reach out to us. We do what's called a consolidated tasting. We're doing one next week for a publication called Venice. So we have over 300 bottles of wine that will open next week for their taster, and he'll spend about 2 or 3 days tasting through those wines and then reviewing them. We did a tasting tour last year in 4 cities. We went to Dallas, Tucson, Scottsdale, and San Diego. We brought over 60 brands with us, and over 190 trade and media attended. And as far as consumer events, we had over 1,000 those four events. And then last but not least is our gift back to the community here in Paso Robles. We did three blood drives, especially through the Wine Country Alliance. We have an Adopt a Street that we have out. It used to be out there by Barney Schwartz Park. We actually moved it now to First Street on South Vine Street. They say Coin Alegre, but it's the one that with the funky red bricks on it. And then we also do a scholarship program, which we're really proud of. We do a virtual auction, which actually starts next week, and we awarded $16,500 to local scholarships to students going to college next year, and we awarded $25,000 to local nonprofits. So looking ahead to 2023, we're going to be doing more tasting tours. So we actually have a grant with the CDFA, which is the California Food and Ag Department, and we have $300,000 to spend over 2 years. That's been spent on direct fly markets to Dallas, Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona. We spend digital dollars there, and then we also do trade and media tastings. We've also partnered with Travel Paso to go to San Jose, and with our partnership with the San Jose Earthquakes, we're doing a big tasting on June 15th. We expect to bring over 50 wineries with us up to San Jose, and that'll be great. We're also working with the city of Paso Robles. Mr. Bausch.
Well, what is the?
Oh, thank you. California Department of Food and Ag, and that's it's actually through part of the Farm Bill. So the Farm Bill, when they divvy their monies up, they give it to each state, and then the state says you can spend your money how you want to. I wrote a grant for a specialty crop black. So wine grapes are actually considered a specialty crop, and so we actually get dollars to spend money marketing specialty crops, which then helps the growers and the wineries here in our region. So, good question. Look ahead, we had Blend Fest on the coast last week. We personally got rained out because that beautiful rainstorm we had. So we actually ended up canceling the grand tasting, which was on Saturday afternoon at the coast. But we did have our blending seminar and our winemaker dinners, but we're going to reschedule that for this later on this fall when we can find a date that works for everybody. We have spring release, which is the month of March happening right now. Our winery said it's too busy to do one weekend in March, so we'll do the whole weekend. So we're doing a series of winemaker dinners, excursions, and things like that. So that's going really well right now in the month of March. Our Wine Country auction starts next month. There's 23 auctions we have in there. It's at pasowine.com/ you can look at, it says a virtual auction. We raised $58,000 last year, and the year before that we raised $72,000. So again, most of those monies are actually donated back to our community. Paso Wine Fest is coming back. We're excited about that. The grand tasting will be May 20th down at the Event Center. We invite you guys all to attend. I'll make sure I get you guys some tickets, if that's legal. Harvest Wine Month will be in October, and we have too busy for one weekend, so we'd spend the money over the course of the entire month of October. We're also creating a new thing we're excited about called the Paso Wine app. So as you know, people are kind of going away from printed materials and maps and things like that. So we're going to go to a digital app, which we're creating. It's going to have all of our wineries on there. It's built on the same. We built an app last year during Wine Festival, and so we actually loved it. It worked so well that we're actually just going to create the whole wine app. It'll be like a small version of our website. You'll be able to look at maps, see what they're pouring, what their hours are, and things like that. We'll be completing that in the next 2 months. And then we're doing our new visitor guide and map, which you guys all know and hopefully love. And this year we've partnered with Wine Folly, which we're excited about. Wine Folly is the first time they've ever done a regional wine publication. They're pretty popular online. We're working with those guys right now, and all the wineries, again, will be on that map who are members of the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance. And then this is another reason why we work with these guys is they're just they have such a vast reach, and we're going to do we still print over 100,000 maps, which is quite a bit in terms of people who look at those things. And then just a quick look ahead at what's going on next year. We invite you all to Paso Wine Fest, which is Saturday, May 20th at the Event Center. We have our major meeting Wednesday, June 28th. You're all welcome to come to that. We actually have it at the Park Cinemas every June because it gets starting to get a little warm back then. So we have some popcorn and talk about the big things happening in our industry. Our annual barbecue is usually the first Thursday in August. That'll be August 3rd this year. And our year-end meeting it'll be December 6th. And so again, you guys are all welcome to come and attend those. We appreciate that. So I think it's a bright future for Paso Robles. I just want to mention one more quick thing. As part of our contract with you guys, in addition to the things that we typically do as part of this contract, which is trade outreach, industry education, and wine-specific marketing, we added two more things this year. One of them is the economic development collaboration and one of them is the use of the PRWC marketing materials and assets. So I have been working with both Paul Sloan and Chris Hewitt in terms of making sure we're meeting our needs, meeting with you guys, setting up economic development opportunities with industries that support the wine industry, whether that be tanks, barrels, corks, and all those things that can bring more industry, not just wine specific, but wine industry specific. And then also working with Mr. Hewitt and Mr. Sloan about using our materials to make sure we're putting those in the right places, whether that be at the airport or other places here in the town. So we have a significant and a similar look as we market our city. So that's my presentation. I'll take any questions from the dais or from anyone in the public. Appreciate your time and our partnership.
Thank you, Joel. One real quick question. With all the events that you do, I mean, there's so many beautiful things and wonderful things that you guys do. Do you have any rough idea of the attendees, you know, what percentage are local versus out-of-towners that come to these things?
That's a good question. It depends on the specifics. Obviously, back when we were all younger, Paso Wine Fest was probably more 60% locals and 40% out-of-towners. But nowadays, Paso Wine Fest for us is still in counties, 30% in county and 70% out of county. So It's still a significant amount of our locals still support everything we're doing here, but it does increase of those bigger markets. We're going to expect about 2,000 people at the event center. So I would expect 70% from out of the area to come to that.
Wow.
And then the smaller events typically tend to have a little bit more of the local flair. If we were doing the Blend Fest on the coast, we get a lot of people who live on the coast to come to that. But we still do draw a lot of people who come out of the area to attend the events.
Okay. Any questions from Steve, Gregory?
Yeah, Joel, just briefly on the wine festival, how have you changed that now that it's at the event center?
Good question. So we've taken it out of the park, which was, I think we feel a good decision at the end of the day because I think we were kind of outgrowing it at a certain point. And we've got 3 really large tents. They're really cool tents that you might see at somewhere like a golf tournament or Aspen Food and Wine or Pebble Beach Food and Wine. They're beautiful, they're almost like structured. And we put all the wine under those tents. Instead of like doing 10 by 10 pop-ups for everyone, they're these beautiful tents. We have signage above. It's about a 5-hour tasting. We've got food down there. We've got live music. It's kind of it's elevated experience. So you're getting able to taste the small wineries who don't have tasting rooms. You're able to taste the big wineries who want to come and do a kind of an activation. So last year we did 4 wineries did kind of what we call large brand activations. And so it's maybe bigger than a 10 by 10, but they've got like a space of 10 by 20 and they're doing some really cool tastings and maybe they're pairing it with a food. This year we had over 10 brands come in and say, we want to do a big, large brand activation. So it's no longer just standing behind a table and tasting wine, but it's going through and pairing it with something. Or this year, I don't want to give away too much, but the folks at Topless Creek are actually going to bring down some of their animals, since we are at the event center, and have a grafting seminar talking about how they graft the vines from one varietal to another varietal. So it's more experiential.
Good. Thank you.
Chris Bausch.
Thank you. So great presentation. Thanks for that. And thanks too for going out of state in lots of different places. How do you get 95 cases to Texas or someplace like that? Is that something you do through distribution that's already there, or do you have to cart that with you?
Great question. So in Texas, they have I'll use the word odd
Yes.
alcohol laws. If you have distribution, we have to pull the wine from the distributor. And so like if they're working with RNDC or Southern Wine and Spirits, we pulled the wine from their inventory and we're able to pour it there. There's a loophole in that where if you're not distributed, you can actually ship it and you have to write the word sample on there. And it's a wine sample. And so you can actually bring wines that don't have the licensing yet because you're essentially trying to bring commerce to their state. So it's a combination of working with the distributors and working with FedEx and making sure we're shipping it legally, because the last thing we want to do is get our hand slapped for shipping illegally.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
And Mary Martin, any questions?
Yeah, real quickly, I've been following the news regarding all the huge rainstorms and the effect on the wineries up in Northern California. In fact, they're bogged down. They've got equipment stuck in the mud. They're worried about root rot. Do we have any negative effects from the heavy rains here?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. It's a good question. Some of the vineyards who are in lower areas near the Salinas River had some pretty good of erosion, and certainly vineyards that were in the areas that have a stream running through it, or now they have a stream running through it, have lost some plantings. The rule of thumb we're saying right now is if you had planted your vineyard probably less than 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you're fine because you have some cover crop and you had some established root control, roots for those vines. But the new vineyards did suffer some erosion, certainly in those rainstorms. But it's a good thing. We need the water. We certainly don't need it all at once. But it's been a beautiful year, and it's still, I've lived here for 21 years at this point, and it's the most rain I can remember getting. And so it's good in the long run to refill the reservoirs, to refill the everything we can in terms of the ponds, keeping the roots, in the vines vigorous. But it's been a challenge for some of the loss in terms of erosion and things like that. But it's a good thing. Thank you.
Okay. Joel Peterson, Executive Director of the Wine Country Alliance. Thank you.
Guys. Have a good night.
Item 3, we have California Department of Insurance presentation. Richie Savong. Yeah, Richie.
Good evening, Council. My name is Richie Saivong. I come from Fresno, California, not too far off from here. But again, thank you for having me here. Thank you for joining us, Mayor Martin, online, and as well as the rest of the Council. So I am presenting the California Low-Cost Auto Insurance Program. And by no means am I here to sell you any type of insurance. I just work for the Commissioner. So quick overview, I'm going to talk about the California Department of Insurance, also known as CDI, the law in California regarding vehicle insurance, and then talk about the California Low Cost Auto Insurance Program, also known as CLCA, how to qualify and how to apply, how you can partner with CDI and CLCA, and then I'll have a brief Q&A session at the end. So you're probably wondering, what is the Department of Insurance? So we regulate all lines of insurance, so life, home, fire, auto, health insurance, pet insurance, everything under the sun. So we're making sure that our agents that you have out here and brokers, they're all licensed, they're all in good standing. We're making sure that they're playing fairly in the marketplace. California is the largest insurance marketplace in the United States. We are the biggest state. We do collect $340 billion a year in premiums. And quick known fact, we are the 4th largest insurance marketplace in the world. So pretty big. So our biggest goal here is to protect consumers from fraud and abuse. Under the direction of Commissioner Lara, we're making sure that these insurance companies are doing the right things and serving you the right way. If you're ever curious about the insurance, any type of insurance, if you're shopping for insurance, life, home, fire, auto, our website does provide free guides that you can use, and we do have a premium survey that will allow you to guide your way through the insurance world, because yes, it's very confusing. There's a lot of terms out there. So if you're ever curious, give our website a visit at www.insurance.ca.gov. There's also the consumer hotline, which is 800-927-4357. So let's dive into the law. You need to have proof of liability in California, at minimum, to drive. So how do you get that? You need liability insurance. Why? Because if you cause damage to somebody else's property, you have to pay for it, right? You can't just drive away. Another thing too, if you get pulled over without any type of insurance, guess what happens? Chief Nord would know. You would get your license suspended, your vehicle gets impounded. All that, more of a massive headache, adds up to thousands of dollars. But you could get CLCA at a lower cost. So CLCA has been around since 2000, was passed by the legislature in 99. It does provide affordable, low-cost liability insurance to all Californians, regardless of immigration status. CLCA is a state program, so there are no tax dollars that go into this program. It is simply a pool of insurance companies that will provide liability insurance to consumers. And the goal, of course, is to decrease the number of uninsured drivers. So how do you qualify? You need a valid California driver's license or an AB60 for undocumented drivers. Vehicle value has to be less than $25,000 and cannot be financed through a loan. You have to meet income guidelines, which is something I'll go over shortly. Be at least 16 years old, because that's the age to get a permit. And the big asterisk there, you can't have a bad driving record for the past 3 years, meaning no accidents with bodily injury. So we're looking at the rate chart here. We are in San Luis Obispo County, so that falls under Tier 1. So at the base rate, you're paying at $244 a year. It does go up depending on your age as well. So as you can see there, single drivers, it goes up 30%, driving less than 3 years, it's 40%, and then 100% for drivers that are 16 to 18. So at most, an annual premium is $488 a year for those teenage drivers. And it does go off of the number of people in your household. So this does change every year regarding the federal poverty line. And I do go over that as well as far as qualification. So what do you need to apply? As I mentioned, your driver's license, your AB60, registration, proof of income, and 20% of the annual down payment. So proof of income. So you can provide one of the following: paycheck stubs, W-2, 1099, SSI statement, etc. There is a complete list on mylowcostauto.com. And the biggest thing here is, if you qualify for CalFresh, CalWorks, Medi-Cal, California Lifeline, you qualify for CLCA. So you're wondering how to apply. You visit us at mylowcostauto.com, take the eligibility questionnaire. It's 7 questions, and it's all online, so it's relatively quick. And if you are stuck, and if you're curious about questions, we do have a chat that's available on our website in English and Spanish. And then if you're curious about more, give us a call at 866-602-8861. So you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. I like CLC. That's pretty cool. So how can you partner with CDI and CLCA? You can help us disseminate educational materials in your community. I did provide some, and I'm leaving some here at the City Hall. You can share our website, the CLCA website, through your social media platforms, which I'm hoping the City of Paso Robles does include as well. Invite us to your community outreach events. You know, I live in Fresno. It's a 2-hour drive. I'm willing to come out here and work some events with you guys and definitely share some information about the department. Let us partner and present with your staff at your upcoming training or community group, and refer us to any collaborative group or partners that work with low to moderate income households in California. Questions, if you're looking for more information about CLCA, give our website a visit at mylowcostauto.com. Give us a call at 866-602-8861. And if you're ever having questions or problem with your insurance, give our website a visit and call the consumer hotline at 800-927-4357. The biggest thing is, if your insurance company is not calling you back, they keep hanging up on you, and you're trying to file a complaint, give us a call, because we're the final line before they deal with anything. And this will conclude my presentation. Are there any questions between the council and the audience? Yes.
So California's got what, $5,000 minimum liability?
Sir, correct. Sir, hello. We're going to have to get you to come up here. Yeah, so we can record it. State your name.
I wasn't here for this.
It's okay. No problem.
I've got a dog in the fight. So, I'm sorry about that.
Your name?
Fernando. I live here in Paso on Vine Street. Just quick question. So I know that I'm in the automotive industry, so I know insurance companies, and I deal with it on a daily basis. So $5,000 minimum, right? So if you don't have underinsured on your own policy and you get hit by somebody that's got low budget insurance, you're basically out in the woods, right?
So that is definitely something more of the adjuster question.
No, it's actually what happens is, my daughter had that problem, and you said that if you don't have insurance and you hit somebody, you go to jail, you get
I'm sorry to interrupt. We actually can't really have a dialogue like this. So if you have a question, you can pose the question and we can try and answer it. But if you actually want to just talk with him about an issue, we can do that separately.
The question is, I mean, if he's stating in untrue facts, that's all I'm saying. You know, he's saying that people get their license suspended if you don't have insurance. That's not true.
Okay.
You know, they don't get arrested. None of it. That one, my daughter.
Thank you.
All right. Richie, I did have a question, though, about you also cover fire insurance for homes.
That's correct.
So can you tell us anything about what's going on right now? Because a lot of we just had an item a couple meetings ago about this, where a lot of our homeowners in Paso Robles are getting canceled and because of the fire insurance, and can you tell us anything about why that's happening inside the insurance industry?
Yeah, so thank you for that question for Tim Mayor. So the commissioner is working with the FAIR Plan. We are going back into a hearing with the FAIR Plan to discuss further mitigation discounts. that is another thing that I do present, which is the Safer from Wildfires framework, and I did get to speak with the chief back there regarding it, and he has notified me that a letter has been sent to the commissioner, so we are, discussing that with the commissioner, and it's brought to our attention. As you know, yes, the wildfires, it's not just located here. It's a statewide issue, and the commissioner has been fighting in the courts with the FAIR Plan to really, really get the cost down for consumers, and that is our goal.
Okay. At least you're working on it then. Thank you. Anyone else on the dais? Good. Okay. Thank you very much, Richie, for your presentation. All right. Item 4, we have a SLOCOG 2023 Regional Transportation Plan presentation. And James Worley, welcome.
Okay, good evening, City Council, Mayor Martin, Pro Tem Harmon. I'm John D'Annunzio. I'm the Regional Transportation Planner for the North Coast and North County of San Luis Obispo at the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, also known as SLOCOG. I'm here to present an overview of our draft Regional Transportation Plan. The 2023 Regional Transportation, or the RTP, as we call it. This document is currently out for public review, and you can review it online at slocog.org and in the public library. I checked before the meeting tonight, and it is in your public library across the hall, and comments are due back to us April 6th. So what is SLOCOG and what have we done for you? SLOCOG is an association of local governments in San Luis Obispo County made up of the 7 cities and the county of San Luis Obispo. We have 12 board members, 1 from each city council, including Fred Strong, just there, who made it back from Riverside somehow, and the county board of supervisors. It also includes Caltrans, and they sit on our board in an ex officio member. Our primary responsibilities include policy planning and funding for transportation in the region, and we also serve as a forum for study and resolution of regional issues. Every 2 years, we program funds on transportation projects, and over the years, we've worked in close partnership with the city to develop projects such as the Niblick Bridge in the 1980s, the train station reconstruction in 2012, the rail service, park and ride lots, Union Road widening, streetscapes, Vine Street bike lanes, the Salinas River Walk, Gateway Monument sign. We've also been partners with the city and Caltrans on the widening of the 46 East, all the way out to 41, 46Y, which is now fully funded and going to be open in 2 years. We're currently partners on the US 101 46 West interchange, the 101 northbound off-ramp, and of course, the Golden Spike project at Union Road overcrossing. These are our priorities as well as yours. So in addition to a list of projects, which I've named, some of the programs you might recognize from our agency are shown at the bottom of the screen: the Safe Routes to School, Park and Ride Lot, Ride Sharing, and a Freeway Service Patrol project. So the Regional Transportation Plan is mandated by the state and federal governments, and these are required in order to receive state and federal funds to our region. The plan has to align with other plans, and basically in addition to the policy and the planning, the RTP is a list of lists. City of Paso's capital improvement program and the circulation element, the housing element, are incorporated into the regional transportation plan where there is a regional nexus and where the city will be pursuing state and federal money to complete a project. So our role at SLOCOG is to help the City of Paso fund and complete projects in according with the city and regional long-range plans. And this draft plan looks all the way out 23, 25 years. This is a forward-looking plan. Just to help orient you with the major components of the plan, there are 4 elements: the policy element, the financial element, the action element, and the sustainable community strategy. The subsequent slides are on the policy element, the financial element, and the sustainable community strategy. So I'll just lightly touch on this slide, but these are our goals within the policy element. There are 7 pillars, such as the infrastructure, mobility, economy, safety, healthy communities, environment, and fiscal responsibility. So during the production of the plan, we update this every 4 years, and it actually takes about 2 years for us to put it together. So we kicked this plan off 2 years ago and conducted online surveys, about 5. We created a fuel tax tool, a budget tool, which is shown here. We created online completed and current project mapping. The project mapping, which you'll see on the website, is fantastic. We hosted 8 steering group meetings, committee meetings, and have shared progress with this plan with our board, and have tried to foster development feedback throughout this plan. And tonight we're presenting the draft plan to you. So this example here is an example of the budget tool that we had, and you'll see how the different questions align with, if you were a city council or if you were a slow cog board, where would you put the budget? Highways, transit, active transportation, safety, and we received feedback from the public on that. So our financial element projects $3.1 billion to be available for transportation investment through the year 2045. And our plan stays within this budget, but that leaves a lot of projects and improvements unfunded for the next 23, 25 years. So keep in mind that, SLO County has a annual budget of about $750 million. The city of Paso has an annual budget about $50 million. The SLO Cog board has discretionary funds of about $25 million a year, half of that for transit, but we track, including Caltrans, the state and federal programming of about $124 million per year in anticipated revenue. But there are $216 million per year of expenditure needs on the lists. So regionally, we're coming up short about $90 million a year. And that's where you see the budget gap between the 3.1 billion and the red 5.4. Every year it's about 90 million that we're not getting or not needing or not receiving that we need. So some of the funding shortfalls are outlined in this chart. The investment type, similar to the tool that we looked at, was the highways, major roads, local road maintenance, public transit, active transportation. For highways and roads, the unfunded projects means waiting on that congestion relief project or the safety improvements or interchanges for decades. Without local road maintenance, the funding projections indicate that if there's a pothole on a rough road or issues that you have now, you might expect similar issues to persist over the next, decade or two. Similarly for transit and active transportation. So back on our previous slide, you might have seen that there was a zero funding coming from a regional funding source. So again, I mentioned our board, we're very proactive with state and federal money, and we look to you for city funding. But in San Luis Obispo is different than other counties our size in the state of California, in that we don't, other counties collect a regional guaranteed transportation funds through the sales tax. These are collected from the tourists, and there are 25 such counties around California, including Santa Barbara, Monterey, Santa Cruz. So in San Luis Obispo, we don't have this kind of levy on our sales tax for our regional transportation projects. So we depend on cities, the county, the state, and federal programs to support our transportation needs, that 90 million per year funding gap. So as a result, many of the projects on our list have no way of being funded within the time frame of this plan, and including those in the city of Paso. The last chapter I wanted to highlight is the Sustainable Community Strategy chapter. This is the last piece of the regional transportation plan, and it's here where we plan for the coming of 44,000 new people in the next 23, 25 years. That's 18,000 new homes and 18,000 new jobs that we need. So where will they live and work? We began with the existing inventory of the known and housing projects, a lot happening up here in Paso, but then we add more jobs and housing based on the general plans and to reach these projections. And through this effort, we're able to spread the new growth, work with the cities and the community development departments of each city and the county to improve the jobs housing imbalance, protect farmland, protect open space, and achieve the required greenhouse gas targets. So you'll see this element in the draft plan as well. So the vision for this plan is a fully integrated intermodal transportation system that facilitates the safe and efficient movement of people, goods, and information within the region. I've tried to provide you some of the basics for the 2023 RTP, and now the ask is to go and check it out and to tell people in your network, people that you know, check this out. You have until April 6th to make comments on that. We also will have a public hearing down in Arroyo Grande on Wednesday, April 5th, and comments are welcome there. And you can see the web URL here, slowcog.org/2023 RTP. Additionally, our planning director, James Worthley's email here. Notice you didn't put your phone number on that, James. It's good, but email will work for James. But thank you for the opportunity to present this, and thank you very much.
Okay.
And if there's any questions,
yeah. Any questions from the council? Mayor Martin, any questions?
No, thank you.
Just got to reiterate, this is a big topic for Paso. We just came back from Washington, D.C., knocking on a lot of doors for this very reason, and that's the overpass at Union Road and 46 East that we're going to have to need some help on. And we're looking for any place. Matter of fact, next month, I think we're going to Sacramento to do the same thing. So anything you guys can do to help us, that's sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and last we have Caltrans quarterly update. Gus Curry.
Yeah, Gus isn't available tonight, so we'll reschedule him for the next meeting.
Okay, very good. All right, now we come to general public comments, and these are going to be anyone having items before the council that are not on the agenda. You'll have 3 minutes at the podium. Please make your way through and recognize yourself.
Michael Rivera, council and audience. Just as a side note, the SlowCog comments 10 to 20 years of potholes. That's what you got to wait for. I may not be alive to see the potholes get fixed. That's kind of discouraging. But anyway, we can always hope. I did want to comment on the Wine Alliance. The Wine Alliance you did not allow any questions of the Wine Alliance. I just had one simple one. Maybe it can be answered. What is our total donation, I guess you'd say, or contribution to the Wine Alliance annually? I think this is important as we start to look at priorities. Where Roblins are affected, Roblins first, I believe, and they should be. That should be at the forefront of our thinking in anything we do. This is our city. This is where our people live, where we raise our children. 10 to 20 years of potholes, kind of bad news, but we'll move on from there and see if we can fix that as time goes on. So priorities, I think, is one of the biggest things we as a council and a community have to think about. And if we're not putting Roblins first, and we're not doing everything in our power to prioritize our spending, to make sure that those goals are met, to ensure that the needs and the and the lives of Roblins are lifted up to make a better place for all of us to live, I think is short-sighted. The wine industry is not doing bad. There's no demand problem there. I've said this before you and many times. There's no demand problem there. They're doing just fine. Just get out of the way and let them go. They'll do well. What this council needs to do is focus on Roblins and their needs. And until you start to do that, we're going to keep hearing about 10 to 20 years of potholes and other issues that are going to keep coming before you, and aggravation by the public who sees that there's a disconnect between the needs of Roblins and what the city council thinks is important. So I would hope that as time goes on, you'll rethink the road you're walking and think about your fellow Roblins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else?
You have to say the same thing, guys.
If this now's, okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. Anybody online? Mary?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. Then we'll come back to item H is City Manager Ty Lewis. Anything on the deferred list for agenda items?
No, sir, Mr. Hammond. Just a real quick, I believe Mr. Rivera asked a question, and happy to answer that. $75,000 is what is allocated from the City Council in this budget year, and it'll be $85,000 the following year.
Thank you. So we'll move on then to the consent calendar. These are routine, not requiring separate discussion unless any of the council or public wish to pull for discussion or questions. Anybody having questions on any of the agenda items 1 through, how far are they down? 10. Actually down to 13, 1 through 13. Anybody on council? Okay, Chris?
I have a question for Frida on item I-9, approval of the new city park event. I think it's a great idea. 2 of our kids vaulted through high school. Our son vaulted all through college. So it's a great event to have and showcase. From personal experience, what is the city's exposure or liability? I mean, it's an activity, a sport that's prone to catastrophic injuries. Hopefully not, but is there an exposure to the city?
Every event promoter that hosts an event in City Park is required to indemnify the city for any injuries or any other kind of incidents that happen as a result of their event.
Okay, so you feel confident that we're fairly safe?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? And anyone in the public having any questions on the agenda? Questions for the consent calendar? Seeing none? All right, bring it back to the council for action or discussion.
Mr. Hammond, Steve Martin, I'll move for approval of consent.
First by Mayor Martin.
Second, Gregory.
Second by Gregory. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Moving on, we have a report on items approved by the consent. Ty Lewis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. So our first item was approval of the February 16th City Council special meeting minutes. Item 2 is the regular approval of the February 21st City Council meeting minutes. Receipt of the advisory body minutes for the Library Board of Trustees on January 12th, 2023. Receipt of the warrant register. Item number 5 is approval to conduct remote or hybrid meetings in person. This is one of our regular renewals per Assembly Bill 361. Item number 6 is continuation of the proclamation of a local emergency regarding our January 2023 storms. Item number 7 is designation of the city's agent in applying for reimbursement to the governor's office for emergency services related to those storms. Item number 8 is the annual development impact fee report for 21-22. Item number 9, you just heard a little bit about, which is approval of a new event, the Wine Country Classic Street Vault. Item number 10 is approval of a contract with Bear Electrical to upgrade our road traffic signals on Niblick Road. Item number 11 is vacating of a collect sewer easement. Item number 12 is approval of a durable encroachment agreement with the Riverwalk Terrace for the installation of a private underground water service at Larry Moore Park. And the last item is a amended and restated memorandum of understanding regarding the Olson South Chandler Planning Area 1 for affordable housing.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ty Lewis. Moving on, we have public hearings now, beginning with item 1. It's going to be the 2023 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program, and Darren Nash, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hammond and members of the council. This is the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. In November of 2022 was the deadlines for the applications for 2023. If you recall, in December 2022, just a few months ago, we brought the draft action plan. There were 6 applications submitted for the 2023 program. We reviewed the applications with council. Council gave directions to come back tonight in March with the annual action plan. These are the recommendations of the council here. The first application was the Riverside Avenue public ramp and ramp project. The next 4 were the public services, people's self-help, 5 Cities Homeless Coalition, ECHO, and CAPSLO. And then finishing out with some in administration. So that all added up to the allocation of the $197,484, and we brought back as requested by council. So again, this is the final action plan before you. So the options are, you still have the option to not take action on the CDBG program, or option 2, amend option 2, or refer back to staff. And recommendation for you tonight is option 2, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Darren. Any questions for Darren? And done. Mayor Martin, anything for Darren?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the public wish to make a question to the council? Please go ahead.
Michael Rivera, something I've been questioning for a while. You know, I don't ever think I got a budget from ECHO. I don't know, maybe there is. Maybe the city manager can respond to that. That has line items as to what expenses are, what they're spending money on, et cetera. As I recall, when the homeless shelter was brought forth, the mayor had indicated that it would basically not cost the city any money. Well, this is turning into a lot of money. It's nickels and dimes. Now, homelessness is a very complex issue. Everybody understands that. There's a lot of issues with the homelessness, from drug addiction, mental health. We all know the many things that are surrounding homelessness. And most Roblins have great compassion for people, and they want to see this problem solved. However, if we don't know where the money's going or how it's being used, or budgets, that's a little bit of a problem. And when originally this wasn't supposed to cost the city really much, it appears that that's not been the case. This problem is going to continue to grow, homelessness, if we don't address the problem straight on. And we do, you know, Coronado in Southern California, their mayor and their council has been able to create an environment where they've been able to address this issue head on directly. Be interesting just to ask some questions about what Coronado's doing. The city manager's already shaking his head, which is fine. But the bottom line is we do have to find solutions to the problem. And throwing a lot of money on it, at it, I don't ever think that works. It just grows. Just never stops. Because we're not prepared to give a little tough love sometimes. And we all have compassion for people. I wonder how compassionate it is to allow people to live in the riverbed. Is that compassion? I don't think so. It's sad. It breaks my heart. But until we get serious about solving the problem and just think we can throw money at it and solve the problem, we're barking up the wrong tree. It's never going to happen. So we have to start dealing with it forthright, straightforward, head on, using our community resources, churches, every single item we have at our disposal to kill this destructive cancer that's affecting so many. So I would hope that this council would start to look at this. CBD grants, I could see many more things that could be used for. There's got to be another way. And it's going to nickel and dime us to death if we don't start addressing this more fully and head on. I still would like to see that budget from ECHO. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? We'll go ahead and close it, bring it back to council for discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
We do have a
Oh,
caller
we
on
do
the
have
line.
somebody online? Okay, go ahead.
We have Devin McQuaid.
Hi, this is Devin McQuaid. I'm the Associate Director with the Five Cities Homeless Coalition. I just wanted to come on tonight and thank staff for the recommendation and council for their consideration for the CDBG Public Service Funds. These funds, we're down here in 5 cities, but our housing programs do operate countywide, and I see that, quite a few of our partners are also being recommended for funding tonight. So these will support our rapid rehousing and homeless prevention programs. We've been seeing a considerable uptick in homeless prevention requests, particularly from the city of Paso. So we are thankful again for the recommendation, and we look forward to using these funds to maximize the benefits for the city of Paso residents. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
No, sir.
All right. John. Okay, we'll bring it back. Councilman Greger?
Yes, could we have our city manager tell Mr. Rivera what's going on with the budget, which I guess he wasn't aware of?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to call Angelica Fortin up. She has some direct information about all of those and budget information as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. As part of the MOU with ECHO, they did submit their financial report quarterly in December. They're actually coming back to Council at the March 21st meeting, and we'll have an additional quarterly report at that time. We're also working to continue the work that started with the future study. So we're looking to begin the strategic planning process for homeless services. And so we're just getting through some paperwork, and you'll see some information about that at the next meeting during the mid-year financial report.
Very good, Angelica. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Coming back with council. Councilman Gregory?
Well, I'm ready to go ahead and make a motion.
Right. Any further questions?
Well, not questions, but I think it should be explained that there seems to be some confusion. This isn't our taxpayer money. This is federal money that is given us with a specific formula we have to use. We are required by law to use this money for these type of services. And if we don't do it, we have to give the money back to the federal government. We cannot use it for anything else. This is federal money for a very specific purpose, and we are following the federal guidelines and doing it exactly by the formula that they require. Thank you.
Great.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I can wait and make a comment after the motion.
Okay. Steve Gregory, go ahead then.
All right. I move we approve Resolution 23XXX, recommending the CDBG allocations for the city one-year action plan to the county of San Luis Obispo.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Gregory and second by Bausch. Discussion, Mayor Martin?
Yes, thank you. I just want to comment that I don't think that anyone on this council has ever uttered the words that addressing the homeless situation was going to cost us little or nothing. In fact, I think we've had several meetings where we wrestled with the fact that we need to use city resources to help alleviate this problem. And we recognize going into it eyes wide open that's going to cost money. Part of the eyes wide open situation is in the contract for services we have now for the homeless shelter, which is run by ECHO, is a much enhanced reporting system and more accountability and transparency to make sure that the money that we do invest from community resources, and these are community resources, are spent wisely and effectively. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I will also add to that Councilman Gregory and myself sit with ECHO on a liaison basis and oversee what they are doing currently. And that's why we developed what we did with regard to them bringing back data and showing exactly where the money is being used, because these are taxpayer funds and we need to prove where they are going.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, we're also meeting quarterly or every 2 or 3 months with all the businesses locally near ECHO and working on some programs to help with that, the situation down there, and help alleviate some of the stress on the businesses. And that's working pretty well. So.
Councilman Strong.
Yes, and I'd like to say that actually at the end of the meeting, we give our council reports. And I just drove back today from down at Riverside this afternoon to make this meeting, along with James Worthley, who is there. He just left, I guess. And one of the things that we discussed for the last 3 days was the homeless situation and the funding that is needed and how to get it and where it's coming from. But we're looking at the federal and state government and how they can help with this too. And some of the policies that we're doing and how we're going to integrate things like transportation, public transportation, parking, density, and mixed use in our cities and throughout our country as to how we can handle this and have homes available for people who are homeless now because they can't afford the homes and the prices that we're charging it for our rents and to purchase homes. And so that was a major part of the discussion the last 3 days with people from the federal government, state government, and every regional government in the state of California. Thank you.
Very good. Any other comment from the dais? Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll call for the question then.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, item 2. This is going to be an amendment to the road maintenance agreement, condition approval for PD 20-17 and CUP 2121. Construction of a maintenance shop and office at 70 Nutwood Circle. And Darren, Darren, you'll have this item, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a project on Nutwood Circle. This is at the south end of the city off of Theater Drive. Mr. Brown from ABI Construction is building a project out there. The Planning Commission, along with the City Council, approved a project here for ABI Construction. They'll have a shop, an office, and a yard on this property off of Nutwood Circle here, again, off of Theater Drive. So just give you a little location of where we're at. Nutwood Circle is a private drive between Theater Drive, and it's on the west side of Theater Drive. The building there at the corner, this is the Daylight Gardens, the old Boatman's Furniture Building. This is the San Luis Bay Motors dealership here. So what we're talking about is this site here, and we're talking about this portion of Nutwood Circle. So Tract 1699 was approved in the county prior to this area being annexed into the city. It created this Lot 1 on the south side of Nutwood Circle, the Lot 2, the lot in question tonight, and then this residential subdivision here that's in the county. So the pink areas, everything on the east side of this kind of boundary here, this is city limits. The white portion, this is in the county. Back in October of 2021, the City Council approved the project for the ABI maintenance shop and office. Nutwood Circle is a private road, and there was a condition with the project that was approved that required the applicant to work with the owners of the other two properties located on Nutwood Circle in city limits to develop a road maintenance agreement. There was discussion at the Planning Commission level. There was some neighbors came out about maintenance of the portion of Nutwood Circle within the city, and the condition derived from discussions at the Planning Commission level and then went up to the City Council and was included. And again, the request was for that portion of Nutwood Circle in the city to have a maintenance agreement between those commercial properties within the city to handle future maintenance and repair of that road. Nutwood Circle is a private road. It was created in the county with the tract map and serves 3 commercial properties in the city and 21 residential lots. The previous owner of the Nutwood Circle area, the Durans, maintained that road, and that happened until that subdivision in 2002. Nutwood Circle is now owned by Mr. Archer, who is the owner of this Lot 1. This has since, and in the 2002, it referred to, there was a subdivision that created 2 parcels out of this one. So this is the Archer parcel. There's a portion here owned by Doug Ayers, who has a mini storage project that will be coming forward soon. And then this is the ABI parcel. This road is part of and stayed part of this Archer parcel here, where the proposed Peterbilt truck distribution would be. And that portion of the road is part of that lot. So Nutwood Circle, again, is now owned by Mr. Archer, and there is not a road maintenance agreement or other mechanism to require Nutwood property owners to share in the cost of maintaining the road. So this is the condition. Applicants shall take the steps necessary to work with the property owners of those assessor parcel numbers and to develop the road maintenance agreement. The city is not in the position to be part of the process. Provide a letter to the city that verifies the maintenance agreement has been resolved. So this condition required those 3 commercial property owners to work together and provide this maintenance agreement prior to the issuance of the grading permit for the ABI project. The other 2 projects, the Peterbilt project and the mini storage project, have not come through an entitlement process yet. At some point, they will be coming before the Planning Commission, possibly up to the council if necessary. I believe there's an oak tree removal on at least one of those projects, which would bring it up to the council. Those projects will also have a condition of approval similar to this that will require some type of maintenance mechanism be adopted, approved. The city worked with Mr. Brown to issue a grading permit. He has been working with the 2 commercial property owners as well as the residential neighbors in the county on this maintenance agreement. He's spent a lot of time and effort doing that. He's had his attorney involved in doing that, but they just haven't been able to reach an agreement to sign the document to get to us to satisfy this condition. We worked with Mr. Brown to get a grading permit issued, but are in a position where we can't issue the building permit for the building until we have this agreement to meet this condition. and Mr. Brown is ready for a building permit. If you've been out there, you can see the grading's occurred, the equipment's there, and he's ready to move forward. So the request that has been submitted to the city is a request to remove that condition number 16 from the development plan for his project. Removing it would then not have this condition for this maintenance agreement, but it would then allow for his project to move forward. Staff has concern with removing the condition. The condition or an alternative condition developed by the council is necessary to ensure maintenance, ongoing maintenance and future maintenance and repair of Nutwood Circle. There's development proposed on that section of Nutwood Circle. Without the proper maintenance, the street would deteriorate and even could hinder access for emergency vehicles. The purpose of the road maintenance condition is to protect public safety, ensure orderly development of the Nutwood commercial properties. There are 2 additional Nutwood development plan applications, as I mentioned, that will have a similar condition. If the property owners don't maintain the road, there is a future risk that the city would have to use public funds and address public safety issues on Nutwood. These are the list of concerns with removing the condition. As I mentioned, Mr. Brown has had some challenges meeting this condition. He's got his attorney involved, and they've come to the conclusion that removal of the condition is what we understand is where they are at this point. Mr. Brown is here tonight. I'm sure he can provide us kind of a status of if the agreement is still being worked on or what the status of that is. So this question of removal of this condition went to the Planning Commission on February 14th. At that meeting, the conclusion of that was a 4-3 vote. The commission recommended to council to remove the condition because they concluded that at least 4 out of the 7 that they would like to see this project, this permit issued so Mr. Brown can get this building going. And believe me, all of community development staff as well is really would like to see that happen as well. Since the staff report was published, we did get a letter from Mr. Archer, who's the owner of that lot along Theater Drive. And he's requesting that council keep the condition, however, maybe put it out to having to be complied with at the time of certificate of occupancy of Mr. Brown's building, which would allow him to get a permit, get going, but figure out the maintenance agreement at the time of occupancy. And that letter was distributed to the council as part of the addendum. So the options tonight are approve the request to omit the condition within the development plan, or amend or modify, or establish an alternative deadline for the applicant to complete the road agreement, deny the request and leave the condition unchanged, or refer back to staff for additional analysis. The Planning Commission recommended that option 1, that the condition be removed. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Very good, Darren. Council question for Darren first. Sure. Let's start with over here with Councilman Strong.
Yeah, my question is that now a public street? Is it our street now? Do we own it?
No, it's still
a private street?
Private road, yes.
Right. Councilman Gregor?
I just wanted to, so who owns the street right now? The Lot 1 owner, correct?
Yeah, it is this is now subdivided. I should have provided an updated subdivision map, but it's this property right here at Theater Drive in Nutwood. it goes back, the portion of Nutwood goes back and is included there. And then there's easements and things that allow all the other properties and the other commercial properties to utilize that. That was done originally with the county subdivision.
All right, thank you.
And Mr. Bausch, any questions? Okay. Do we have the applicant that would like to make a statement? Mr. Brown, please.
Andy Brown, ABI Engineering, 70 Nutwood.
Go ahead if you'd like to add anything to Darren's report.
Yeah, we've been working hard on this. This has been over a year process. We've gotten real close. I know it's just stated between the 3 landowners inside the city limits. We've worked hard to work with the landowners of the homes behind us. I feel I have a good relationship with them. I know it's not within the city limits, so it's outside the jurisdiction of the council, and the planning commission is probably why that condition was written just with the 3 of us. They use that road continuously every day. It's tough because it's not something that I can just go do. I can't speak for the other 2 landowners in the city limits and make an agreement and sit down and work that out. We're really, really close to getting this done, but getting all the entities on the same page to sign the dotted line, we're trying to just work out a 25% agreement to everybody. We got almost to the finish line, and here we are today. This is why we're here, because we just can't push it over the goal line. I'm ready to go. I got a $1.4 million project that's sitting on the table right now. My permit's ready to be issued. And, you know, it's come to the point where it's costing me money. It's a financial burden at this point. Every month that I don't have that project started is a loss for me.
Very
So
good.
I'm more than happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Brown? None? Thank you, Andy.
All right, thank you.
All right. Anybody in the audience wishing to address this, please come forward and state your name. 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members. Pamela Giardini, and I'm with Planning Solutions. And you received a letter from Mr. Archer. He is my client, and we are developing Peterbilt, which is the front half of Lot 1 that you're looking at. And for full disclosure, I am also the agent for Mr. Doug Ayers, who is doing and proposing the mini storage development on the westerly half of Lot 1. So, just to kind of give you our opinions, as Mr. Brown, first of all, we would just like the condition to be amended, that the condition be amended as to prior to occupancy. That would allow Mr. Brown to go ahead, start his grading, wouldn't hold up his construction. We understand how costly that is, that the condition read prior to issuance of a grading permit. If you could just change that wording to prior to occupancy, then the other 2 commercial property owners and Mr. Brown could finish up their agreement. My understanding from talking to Jana at Doug Ayers' office is that they just got the agreement in November or December. And Mr. Brown himself stated that 25% of the agreement, each party would have 25%. The other 25%, he's trying to get the neighbors who lie in the county. There's no way. We have no legal holding over them. We cannot force them to file to sign up for this. Should they? Yes. Would it be fair? Yes. Do we have any way of forcing them to share in this maintenance cost? No. It should have been handled when that map was done. Unfortunately, it falls to the properties within the city limits. It falls to Mr. Brown's property, Mr. Archer's property, and Mr. Ayers' property. The 3 of them need to come to a road maintenance agreement. The other 2 commercial property owners, Ayers and Archer, are more than willing to go into an agreement with him. They want him to move ahead with his project. And so if you just change that the timing prior to occupancy, that would allow the three of them to get together, finish out the minor details that have left to be finished out, and it would satisfy anybody. If not, both Ayers and Archer's property are in the planning department right now. I have them both in there. Mr. Ayers' property will probably be coming before Planning Commission in May, possibly end of April, because there's a tree removal request. It'll be in May. And Mr. Archer's property will be coming in probably about the same time. It was scheduled for a Planning Commission meeting in October, but then was postponed.
And that's
Thank
3
you.
minutes.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on the item? Mr. Brown, please go ahead.
I'm a little taken back by a couple of statements there from Mr. Archer, because it's my understanding in mutual conversations with him and me personally that he would not agree to sign a 33% agreement on the road maintenance agreement from our conversations. It could have changed in the since 2 weeks ago when I talked to him about that a week ago, but I just wanted to set the record straight.
My question to you then, has that been explored then, that it would be just the three of you that are going to have to maintain this street?
He told me he would not be on board unless it was 25%.
No, I mean, I'm talking to you now, Andy. Would you be agreement on if there are three of you got together at this point to do something like that?
I'm not sure that I would be in agreement at this point, only because I don't think it's fair that we give free rite of passage to 20 homeowners going through a street that we're going to maintain. I think I've been more than fair and equitable in this. I've spearheaded this agreement from the beginning. I haven't asked anybody to reimburse me for any time spent with Mr. Madden. I just tried to get a little bit of a hurry up offense. We didn't come to a first draft, and I couldn't split the last dates, either November or December, but we have been working, talking, emails, traffic for well over a year on this. So nobody's sitting on their hands, in my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bring it back to the council to deliberate and
Questions?
So Darren, can I ask you some questions? Or make some comments? So personally, I'm not in favor of continuing a hold on Mr. Brown, because if we go ahead and let him start with an agreement not to take occupancy until the agreement's here, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. I don't think Mr. Brown's an unreasonable person. I think he would work with these folks. And I think that we should just take the statement out, item 16 out, let him proceed, and Mr. Ayers and the other owner can work with Mr. Brown. He's not an unreasonable man. He's tried to resolve this with the homeowners. And I don't think it's fair to put prior to occupancy that comments in there again. I just think we need to let it go. So that's my 2 cents worth, and I'm ready to make a motion.
I have questions.
We got a discussion. Councilman Strong.
I'd like to ask Mrs. Giardini, as Mr. Archer's representative, a question or two.
Would you go back to that?
He owns the property, correct? The street?
The street is owned in fee title by Mr. Archer, yes.
Okay. Has he given an easement over his property to any of these people?
I believe when the subdivision went in, and Darren might be able to help me out on this, that it was an offer of dedication, but the city didn't accept it because there was a hotel that was planned for this area. Am I misspeaking, Warren? I'm not real hip on the past history of it, but there is an easement or an offer of dedication over it for the people who lie in the county to use the road, but they have no financial obligation in its repair and maintenance of it at all.
And that was that done before Mr. Archer owned the property then by the Durans?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I represented the Durans 30 years ago, and I don't remember this as an issue back then.
I don't know the history of it. My guess is because it went from city property, or no, maybe Warren, maybe it was accepted into the city after that happened.
I think it was still in the county at that time.
Yeah, I think it was still in the county then when you handled it, I believe, and then it was accepted into the annexed into the city.
Because he was using it as a mobile home sales outfit, and he was selling the homes to the 2 mobile home parks that are down the street from it.
Correct. But the road itself is owned and fee titled by Mr. Archer. It goes with his property.
City Engineer David Athy, do you have something to add here? David?
Yeah, maybe you can clarify it, David.
Good evening, David Athy, City Engineer. This property was originally subdivided in the county. There's 3 different tract maps that comprise the subdivision, plus a parcel map that subdivided Lot 1. It's been offered for dedication to the county 3 different times. It was rejected 3 different times in those maps. It came in again to the city for a lot split on Lot 1. They did the same offer of dedication to the city, and it was also rejected at that time. So each time this has been offered to the public for a public right-of-way, it's been rejected. So there is an outstanding offer of dedication at this point.
All right, thank you. So, can I make a comment then?
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, as I recall, there was a time when we were looking at to bring all of these lots into the city through a water agreement because they have their own water company. And the problem is they could never agree on anything. And that's why we just rejected the whole thing and didn't bring them in because we couldn't get them to agree on anything. Right. To condition a city property on those people outside of the city having to agree to something doesn't make any sense to me at all. It seems like this is a private issue. If it's still private property and it's not public street, we should just take that condition out completely because let them settle it among themselves. Evidently, they're keeping it up so far. It's their problem, not ours.
Okay. Yeah, you have any further though, Steve?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. Mayor Martin, do you have anything to ask or add here to the comments?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request to omit condition number 16 of the site-specific conditions of approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Gregory, second by Strong. And I think, Councilman Bowser, I think you said you were going to recuse yourself on this one?
No, I'm still in the room. I'm going to abstain.
Abstain.
With all abundance of caution.
Do a roll call vote, then he can take his action.
Roll call then, please.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Out of with respect to Mr. Brown and legal counsel, I need to abstain.
Mayor Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Aye. Very good.
Motion passes.
All right. 4 with 1 abstention. Okay.
May I make one comment? Start tomorrow, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, well, I think he's got the steel on the ground already too, doesn't he? So, all right. Thank you, Andy. All right. Now we're down to city manager's report. Ty Lewis.
I'm going to defer my time to our esteemed city attorney to give everybody a legal update.
Elizabeth Hall.
Thank you very much. Can I grab the clicker? So we had talked last time, we were going to do a quick legislative update for you, and we ran out of time. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on what happened last year. The legislature sent the governor almost 1,200 bills, of which he approved almost 1,000. So they cover the gamut, obviously. There are some areas of focus for the city, including Brown Act and ethics, housing and climate change, emergency services, all kinds of things. We wanted to touch base with you on a few things, particularly the Brown Act bills and how they impact what we do in the public setting here. Some of the conflicts and campaign contribution changes that came into effect on the first of the year. And then previously, just before the last meeting, or at the last meeting, I sent to you a package of legal alerts that go through the other bills that were signed that are relevant to the city. So if you have questions about those, we talked about them separately. There's probably 100 of them in there. So if there's a particular one of concern, let me know and we can follow up on that. Of most importance or concern to the city are the new rules for the Brown Act and how we hold our meetings. The Brown Act is a little confusing at this point. There is the classic rule, there is AB 361, and then there are 3 bills that impact how we handle the Brown Act. Most importantly for us these days, there are the Brown Act teleconferencing rules. We have 3 options currently. The classic rule, AB 361, which we've been operating under for the past couple of years, and then the new rule, AB 2449. If you go to look at the Brown Act, all of these rules are in the same government code section, so it's a little bit confusing, a little hard to follow. The classic rule is the rule that we had prior to the pandemic. It still applies, it's still in effect. If you want to teleconference under the old rule, under the classic rule, you may recall we had to post the agenda at wherever you were. So if you were teleconferencing from your home or from a hotel, we had to post it, you had to let the public in. Not a super user-friendly rule, but that is what we have. That is still available, and if we chose, we could use that. The advantage to that is you do not have to have video, but you do have to, and you do not have to allow the public to teleconference. It gets a little confusing. You can have people at multiple sites, and again, if you're teleconferencing from your home, you may have to actually let the public into your home. The next option was the Brown Act rules during the pandemic, AB 361. This is known as the Zoom or Teams rule, and it allows the entire board to join by teleconferencing. It's what we've been doing, making the findings every 30 days, provide virtual or a teleconference location on the agenda so the public can join in virtually also, take a roll call vote. This bill stays in effect until the end of this year. So this is what we are still currently operating under. The question that has come up, as we all know, the governor ended the pandemic emergency on February 28th. So does AB 361 continue? And the answer is yes, it does. There are 2 provisions in AB 361. You either need an active state emergency, or you need that state or local officials have imposed or recommended measures to promote social distancing. And obviously, we have to continue to make the findings every 30 days. So you will continue to see it on your agenda, so you can continue to use AB 361 until the end of the year. The Department of Industrial Regulations has adopted regulations that recommend social distancing to ensure the safety of all workers in the state. And so that is the regulation that allows us to continue to use AB 361 for our meetings if we so choose. The new rule, which everyone had hoped, there were a couple of versions of this in the legislature last year. Everybody had hoped it would be very similar to AB 361 because people are used to that. It's pretty user friendly. Unfortunately, the one that was signed was AB 2449. It is far less user friendly. And it has some inconsistencies in it that make it very difficult to use. It has some similarities. So you don't need to, if we're going to use AB 2449, you don't need to post the location if these other requirements are met. You must have a quorum participating from a single location in the district. Again, you have to have Zoom or teleconferencing so the public can participate. You have to have the agenda show how someone can participate virtually. You've got to allow the public comments. And just like now, if we have technical difficulties, we have to stop. So that part's all very similar. Then you get to the next part. You have to have a valid, quote unquote, valid reason for teleconferencing. There are only 2 justifications. The first one is just cause, and you can see what is defined to include just cause. It's childcare, family care needs, a contagious illness, a need related to the physical or mental disability, or travel while on official business for your district. So if you're at a conference. The other option is if you have a medical emergency. However, these require both notification and they're limited in time and scope. So the notification for just cause, you have to tell the board at its earliest opportunity, and you have to give a general description of what the reason is. If you have a medical emergency, you again have to make a request of the board. So the board has to decide, at the beginning of the meeting whether your medical emergency is truly an emergency. The board has to take that action. We add it by a 2/3 vote. We declare an emergency. You do not have to disclose your confidential medical information, so it makes it a little bit hard to have someone make an objective decision as to whether or not your medical emergency is really a medical emergency when we can't ask somebody what the medical emergency is. Additionally, 2449 limits how many times you can utilize them. So you can only have a just cause finding twice in a year per council member. And for medical emergency, it's limited to no more than 3 consecutive months or no more than 20% of the meetings in a year. There are participation requirements if you do use 2449. So you have to have your video on at all times. You must disclose if there is anyone over 18 in the room with you. So if you're having your meeting from home and your spouse, your adult child, a neighbor stops by, as soon as they walk in the room, you've got to stop the meeting and tell everybody that, you know, my neighbor has stopped in and is, you know, chatting with my wife, basically, or my spouse. And then you have to disclose the nature of your relationship to those people. So AB 2449 in theory is similar, but with these extra requirements, it makes it far less user-friendly than AB 361. We certainly have the ability to do it, but there are some practical considerations. AB 2449 requires us to put on the agenda the teleconferencing information, but you only use teleconferencing if it's an emergency. Well, how did I know when I published the agenda 4 days ago that it was going to be an emergency on Tuesday night? So there's some inconsistencies that make it less than user-friendly, which is why for tonight, and unless you all decide differently, we were going to continue to use AB 361 until the end of the year. And then we'll wait and see what the legislature does to clean up some of these things in 2449 this year. We're hopeful that the League of Cities or Cal Cities, CSDA, and some of the other organizations are working with the legislature to try and address the sort of impracticalities of 2449. So those are our basic noticing. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Any questions? Chris Bausch.
Thank you. Some of the comments that were floating around out there, if someone had to attend remotely, there's a provision that they would not have to disclose confidential medical reason. There was a discussion that if you have to broadcast both audio and video, that would compromise that. So hopefully that'll be part of the cleanup language that they'll enact.
Yes, that is another concern with it.
Thanks.
Additionally, there are a few other, I'm sorry, were there, Mayor Martin or anybody else have any other questions on those bills?
Mayor Martin?
No.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, so the couple other Brown Act bills, SB 1100, removal for disruptions. There are provisions in the Brown Act if people are disrupting your meeting, we need to be able to do the public's business. So this allows us to remove for disruptions. The chair or a designee can order removal for disruption. You are required to give a warning. Usually there's got to be violence or a threat of violence. The disruption can include any kind of sort of bad behavior that interrupts our ability to do our business. Practical considerations that we're going to think about now that this law is on the books. Is there a need to update your bylaws or your rules of decorum? Our policy manual to address this. Who's ever chairing the meeting needs to be prepared to respond to disruptions. And then we always want to keep in mind other options because, ideally we want the public to be able to be here and participate. So we look for things short of clearing the room. But if necessary, we can call a recess, clear the room, and then eventually consider allowing this disruptor to return if we have reason to believe that they will behave and allow the meeting to proceed. Fortunately, we don't see a lot of that here in town, but not all of my clients are that fortunate, I'm afraid to say. The last one of the Brown Act has to do with documents. So in our beginning of our agenda that the mayor read, it indicates that, if there's information that's been made available to the council before the meeting, then we also make it available to the public at the same time. So Sierra Watch versus Placer County is a case. It's actually a CEQA case, but there was a Brown Act component to it. They made some changes to the CEQA document. They put it in the clerk's office at 5:35 on Friday evening. Clerk's office closed at 5. Didn't put it on the website. The public had no access to it. I believe the meeting was on Monday. So the meeting goes forward at 10 a.m. on Monday morning, and the public's like, we didn't know anything about this.
Right.
So we have a new rule. The new rule is you can get your additional written materials. However, the agenda has to include the district's address or the city's address. The material has to be posted on the website in a manner that shows it's part of the agenda. It has to be available when the district office next opens, and it has to be there at least 24 hours before the meeting. So we can no longer send you new things right before the meeting. Clerk's office is on it. We can make it available to you at the meeting and post it at the same time, but we can't give it to you ahead of time and not have it available at least 24 hours for the public. So our clerk's office here is very good at this, and they're very good about making sure that everybody has access and it gets on the website right away and all of those things. So it's not really been an issue for us. But on the occasion when we have a Monday meeting, it limits our ability to get you information over the weekend. Next is SB 1439, contribution conflicts. So the existing rule prior to this new legislation, and I sent you all an email or a memo on this at the end of last year. Political Reform Act was very clear. A campaign contribution is not a source of income to an elected official. The Levine Act, however, said if you serve on an appointed board, then your campaign contributions can't be a conflict. That has always been the rule. The new rule now applies the Levine Act to both elected and appointed boards. So the council needs to be aware of their campaign contributions as it relates to items that are coming forward before this board now also. It applies to particular kinds of proceedings, licenses, permits, entitlements, all of the things where you would have an applicant. And if you have taken a campaign contribution, you'll need to disqualify, or if you can cure if you took it within the last 14 days. There was some debate about this rule at the end of last year. It became effective on January 1. It has a look-back provision of 12 months. The staff of the Fair Political Practices Commission wanted it to be effective on January 1 and look back into this last campaign cycle. The board at the FPPC has come to the decision that that's not accurate, not fair, because people didn't know when they were taking those campaign contributions. So the 12-month look back starts as of January 1, 2023. So right now you would look, if we had an application tonight, you would have to look back and see if you took a campaign contribution between March 7th and January 1, 2023. And then it goes forward from there. And that's the gist of it.
Well, that's important information, Elizabeth, but I think you cleared out the room with that kind of topic.
I have that effect on people, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
I'll try not to take it personally.
Yeah, it's important stuff. It really is important stuff. We all, as elected officials, need to understand these things, and it's very, very complex sometimes. So thank you. Okay, moving on. Council business, community reports. Councilman Strong, would you like to start?
Okay, you want me to start? I got a long one.
That's all right.
Okay, well, I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting, and make it very brief, because Councilman Bausch was there too, and that is more programs are being offered, and there's more participation going on in our library, which is the good news. The Youth Commission, they are moving ahead on a creation of a teen center at Centennial Park. And very exciting what they're planning. They're really moving ahead on it. So I'm really proud of these young youngsters. They're doing a job. Then, when I rushed in tonight, It was after a 4.5-hour drive, 260 miles from Reading, from Riverside to here, where I was at a 3-day conference that covered a lot of material. And the neat thing was the people that we got to meet and talk with and interact with. So Mark Tolofsa was there, and we dealt with him. He's the Undersecretary of the California Transportation Agency. Vince Manano was there. He's the Division Administrator for the Federal Highway Administration for California. Gustavo Velasquez, who is the Director of Housing Community Development for the state of California. Mitch Weiss, Executive Director for the California Transportation Commission. Leanne Yeager, Chairman of the California Transportation Commission. Clarissa Falcone, also a Commissioner, California Transportation Commission. And Hillary Norton, Commissioner of California Transportation Commission. Fortunately, we were able to talk very personally with each one of them about the Golden Spike Project, Highway 46 improvements, Highway 101 improvements, and the importance of our entire area and how it interrelates with the entire state and the nation. So, they very graciously informed me that they had just received our EIR. So they were just starting to go through the EIR on our project. And they were very interested. And our executive director of SLOCOG was also there and helped pitch some of the same things. Bill Key, I can't pronounce his name. The last name is difficult. But anyway, he is the part of the AMPO. He is the executive director of the American Metropolitan Planning Organization and works closely with NLC and with NARC, and we get along very well. So he was there, had a good conversation with him. He's aware of our projects as well. We did discuss the priorities on funding for our transportation. And the things being considered, and there are some bills actually pending in the legislature on this, for possibly a fuel tax or an energy tax and or a VMT tax. So they're looking at all three, and everybody's noodling out what's going to be best, what's going to be most equitable, how can we make this work? Who knows? But the problem is we have to make up for 40 years of low funding by the federal and state. And that's why we're in the trouble we are and why we're taking it so long to fix potholes sometimes. We also heard from about the legislation. We want to keep our eyes on a number of things. AB 744 is one we want to watch because it has to do with how we use some studies and how we can use some funds for some studies. We want to look at our REAP funding, because REAP 1 now is going to be for planning only, but REAP 2 is going to be for actual construction. So we can actually get construction money for some of our projects through REAP 2. So pay attention to that. One thing that the Federal Highway Administration was very concerned about was that when we do get federal funds now under some of the current laws in California, if it comes direct to us, we are responsible to meet every single federal regulation and requirement. And if you don't dot every I and cross every T, even if you've spent the money, you've got to give it back. And in the millions that you're talking about, you better know what you're doing. And he says this is his nightmare, that some jurisdictions in California just don't have the expertise to be able to actually do that. So we've got to be very careful if we get any direct funding through the federal government. There were a lot of other things that were talked about too. SB 743 is working on the VMT portion of the funding. And there's an outfit called Streetlight Data that is available to help work on some of that. And they're putting together a state digital equity plan for broadband. And they're saying, stay on top of that because that's going to be very helpful, but they're really encouraging multiple jurisdiction cooperation. And I know we're doing it with Tascadero, but we also have SLOCOG involved. And they're urging us to be very careful that we follow through on all of that. Very much. There are a number of other things, but I'll go over some of the other things directly with appropriate staff here at the city. I don't think I have to go into any more detail. But it was a great meeting. And also I've got the meetings pre-set up with Mitch Weiss and also Assemblywoman, I can't think of her name now, from down south. She is the head of Transportation Committee for the Assembly. And so I'm meeting with her next week, middle of the week, as well as with Mitch Weiss of California Transportation Commission. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Strong. Councilman Bausch.
Thank you. As Council Member Strong mentioned, I went to a library board meeting, very exciting. I was warned that it would be very fast, very dry. That was one of the best meetings I've been to so far. Got to attend the oaths of office, welcoming promotions for Dwayne Brown, John Nichols, Kevin Wells, and Christopher Stanley. Those are always a good opportunity for me as a new council person to meet some of our staff, and that's always welcome. Attended the quarterly meeting of the Nacimiento Water Project Commission. Congratulations to Mayor Pro Tem Hammond on being elected president to that organization. Well done. Business mixer hosted by Main Street at the lovely newer restaurant Junction down at the depot. Great place. Attended a presentation of the City of Grover Beach. Very interesting solution to the unhoused with the use of tiny homes. Attended a presentation offered by Mr. Huat on high performance government, and kind of a trip to the past back in the 80s, some new terms that are being recycled. So it's great. Synergy has always been a very fun term for me. Was a participant at the Paso and Templeton Chambers of Commerce Government Affairs Roundtable discussion. And then the Youth Commission Advisory Committee, very impressive to see how quickly those young people got organized and bringing some great projects to the table. I promised Teeter that I would mention that there are applicants open for becoming a lifeguard. Those are going on now. And then just something that I didn't get to mention at the last meeting, I attended the Cal Cities Academy for council members. Just in short, I was humbled, overwhelmed by just how many people came up to me when they found out I was from Paso Robles, and what a great city we have here and how people are trying to emulate what we're doing here. I had no idea that Sensorio was an attractive project. Sometimes we get too close to the forest. We can't see all the good things that we're doing, the amazing staff that we have here, the amazing business community, and especially the amazing citizens. So well done. Very proud to be from Paso Robles.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Councilman Gregory.
Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on homelessness between these two meetings. We had a meeting here at City Hall with Angelica and Joe and Ty regarding some potential funding for tiny homes project through a different source. And then I'm on the executive committee of HSOC, and I attended their monthly meeting, which is a sort of a financial and planning meeting. And then I'll be at a meeting with Susan Funk, who's the director of that committee, and mostly on homelessness. That was my couple weeks. And I lost about 3 days somewhere, but I think it's because it was February.
Usually it happens about that time. All right. As far as things that I did, in the last couple of weeks, it was IWMA. We had an ad hoc talking about our office building. Airport Commission went out there the other night, Thursday night. That was a good meeting. Not much to report. Council, we do also have Nacimiento Water Commission that I went through. Councilman Bausch was there. He's on my alternate, so he's getting up to speed on what happens in that realm of water. one thing I will say too, that in the last meeting, we were running really late and we didn't get into our Washington DC trip. So maybe Ty and I, we can fill a little bit in on what happened there. Quite a trip. We knocked on doors Tuesday on Senators Feinstein and Padilla, both of whom are key to the space port and that kind of transportation area in space. Also, Congressman Panetta, Carbajal, Senator McCarthy, also Speaker McCarthy, was not able, of course, to meet with us. That was the night of the State of the Union, so he was busy, but we met with his staff, and he certainly knows what's going on. We actually were hosted by Townsend Public Affairs, who also have an office in Sacramento, who we're going to be dealing with here this next month. And the plan is to knock on doors there too. And the reason we went to Washington basically was to draw awareness of our need for federal funding and state, but in particular 46 East, the overpass leading to the airport, which is going to be key to have transportation in some way of better that we have now currently getting to the airport to make that blossom. We have quite a lot of things that are brewing out there. The other half of the meeting to the Washington, D.C. area was to attend the FAA conference on spaceport. Very, very interesting 2-day conference with a lot of new information that we're getting up to speed on. Elizabeth Hull, our attorney, was there too, listening and getting fully versed on what we're going to be getting into, which, again, it's something that I hope that we can achieve, is get that FAA license. And if we do, again, it's going to be a great change for the whole Central Coast. So maybe, Ty, if you have something else that you might want to add to that. I mean, it's a great opportunity. And again, the Golden Spike is what we're tailoring the discussion here. I think we ought to tell folks a little bit about what Golden Spike means.
Yeah, we can always bring back another presentation on that as well for council, but I agree wholeheartedly with your summary, Mr. Hammond. It was a great opportunity for us to engage different levels of our government to help us solve the problem that we have. And, you know, this is a unique one in the sense that Highway 46 is a major east-west connector. There's nothing like it within 256 miles. So we have, you know, an enhanced trade corridor, you know, coming from the valley into our community, which moves a lot of goods and food and commerce for the region and for the state. And of course, locally, it would, funding such a project would help us connect the north and south regions of our community as well, all with the focus on improving safety for our community. So I think anybody that's that's driven Highway 46 for any length of time knows the peril that comes with crossing Highway 46, and the city's worked for a lot of years, decades in fact, with Caltrans to try and find solutions to that. And to date, we haven't been successful, but we're very excited about the opportunities to raise the exposure with our, not only our county officials, but our state officials and now our federal officials to be able to highlight the reasons why this is not just a local investment, it's a regional and state with federal implications as well as it relates to everything that the Paso Robles area helps support and facilitate. So yeah, we're excited as Mr. I'm losing my, it must be getting very late this evening. And so Mr. Strong met with the CTC commissioners. We're trying to arrange a local on-site visit with those folks as well. So that again, we're making sure that if there's any juice to be squeezed out of the lemon, we squeeze everywhere. So we're trying to, you know, as one of our commenters made today, we're trying to put Paso Robles first by making sure that, you know, this is a generational type project. And that will, if we're successful, which I believe we will be, will go a long ways towards cementing this community's future when it comes to safe transportation needs.
Well, with all the federal and state project, money that's been put out there and talked about. Again, it's all tax dollars, and I've been telling our elected officials up there is that, it's our turn. It's Paso's turn. We have an opportunity, and we need to be recognized and hopefully, get their support on what's happening here right now and make things happen. Councilman Strong.
Yeah, I'd say that one of the things that was emphasized by the CTC members, especially the one from Modesto itself, was that one thing they're very interested in is they're trying now, this new commission, to make up for the mistakes that the state has made in the past. And that one of the big mistakes they're looking at is putting highways that divide communities. They've got to give us ways to get across those highways and reconnect our communities. So the fact that 46 divides north and south here becomes a very strong statement with them, because that's specifically one of the things they're looking to correct.
Very good. Mayor Martin, do you have anything to add to the group?
Yes, I don't have any committee reports to make, but I do want to take the opportunity to thank everyone in the community who has reached out to me with their thoughts and prayers and well wishes as I work on my health challenges right now. I truly appreciate it. I feel their support. I feel the support of the council. I continue to solicit those thoughts and prayers, and I'm hopeful that someday soon I'll be able to join you physically again. So thank you.
Well done. Hang tough and get well quick. We need you back here. Thank you. All right, upcoming events. Paso Robles Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, going to be on Monday, March 13th, 1:30. We also have the Paso Robles Development Review Committee, March 13th, also on Monday at 3:30 here at City Hall. Paso Robles Park and Recreation Advisory Committee regular meeting for Monday, March 13th at 4 p.m. Paso Robles Planning Commission will be next Tuesday, March 14th at 6:30 in these quarters here. Paso Robles Development Review Committee again the following Monday, the 20th at 3:30. Then our following next meeting is going to be here at Paso Robles City Council Chambers. That's going to be Tuesday, March 21st at 6:30. So with that, do we have any other further comments or discussion or adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
First by Councilman Gregory and second by Councilman Bausch to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Steve. So long.